Some artistic traditions spend weeks meticulously crafting a masterpiece, only to systematically destroy it the moment it's finished. Others carve their intentions into stone and bronze, building structures designed to outlast empires. Attempting to classify these vastly different practices under a single, monolithic Eastern style ignores the specific spiritual, political, and functional nuances that gave rise to each tradition. We are looking at a geographic footprint stretching from the island coasts of Japan across the steppes of Central Asia, all the way to the river valleys of the ancient Near East, spanning thousands of years of human history. To accurately understand these works, we have to evaluate them on their own regional terms. Geography, religious practice, and the severe demands of state power forge distinct artistic ecosystems in each of these regions. We must view these artifacts as the surviving operating systems of their respective civilizations. Look closely at East Asia. For centuries, the massive, continuous influence of the Chinese dynastic tradition set a rigorous philosophical baseline for the region. During the Song dynasty, painters began prioritizing spiritual representation over strict realism. They relied on blurred outlines and impressionistic mountain contours to convey deep natural distances, forcing the mind to fill in the gaps. That approach crossed the sea to Japan, where a versatile master named Sesshu adapted older Chinese calligraphy techniques into a highly distinct style of ink landscape painting. Sesshu constructed his paintings using irregular, interpenetrating ink washes. By veiling mountains and water in mist, he kept the visible world just out of reach, explicitly relying on the viewer's imagination to complete the contact. Over time, Japanese visual culture shifted toward a highly metropolitan focus. By the second half of the 17th century, the dense urban center of Edo, modern-day Tokyo, cultivated an entirely different aesthetic. In this bustling environment, Suzuki Harunobu developed a technique known as Nishiki-e. This method utilized vibrant polychrome printing to capture the immediate energy of city life. Nearby, Korean art has historically been categorized in Western scholarship as a mere conduit passing Chinese culture over to Japan. The historical record shows something else entirely. Korea actively assimilated those outside influences to forge an independent aesthetic identity. Marked by precise shapes, natural forms, and bold color palettes, it proves that regional art transcends its imported origins. Further south, around the 1st century CE, mainland Southeast Asia was drawn into a massive cultural exchange. Seafaring merchants connected Chinese and Indian ports, introducing entirely new customs to early states like Funan. This trade birthed a profound syncretism in Cambodian culture. The Khmer people combined their indigenous animistic beliefs with imported Indian religions of Buddhism and Hinduism. Early Khmer sculpture closely mirrored Indian Gupta and Pallava models. Through constant stylistic evolution, by the 10th century, the Khmer had developed a striking, self-contained originality. That originality scaled up dramatically during the Angkor period. The Khmer Empire constructed massive, intricate temple complexes to serve as the physical and spiritual seat of their power. At the core of this society was the Deva-raja, or God-king cult. This political structure required an eminently aristocratic art style to project the unquestionable power of the ruling class. Look closely at these figures. Religious representation here served as a pretext. The artists were depicting living models, the king and his court, idealized in the guise of gods, and immortalized in extravagant jewelry and elegant dress.
The true social function of Khmer art was the glorification of the aristocracy. It provided the public with tangible, sensual proof of the sovereign's divinity. Moving northwest into the arid steppes and mountainous terrains of Central Asia and Tibet, the function of art completely shifts based on the environment. In Central Asia, the stark realities of a nomadic lifestyle strictly dictated what could be created. Constant movement prevented the construction of large, permanent structures. Instead, these cultures developed a rich tradition of portable folk art. They crafted embroidered carpets, carved wooden doors, semi-precious stone quilts, and classical instruments like the rubab. Across the Himalayas and Tibet, art was similarly utilitarian, but for a psychological reason. Under Tantric or Vajrayana Buddhism, visual creation was mandated as a strict functional aid to meditation. The sand mandala represents the ultimate manifestation of this philosophy. Practitioners spend immense time and focus placing colored sand, grain by grain. The labor is the point. Once finished, it is systematically destroyed, perfectly executing the Buddhist canon regarding impermanence. This psychological utility extends directly into their permanent iconography. You frequently see the thousand-armed deity of compassion, Chenrezig, placed alongside fearsome figures known as protectors. These wrathful, skull-adorned deities are not symbols of evil. They are highly functional tools designed specifically to help practitioners conquer negative attitudes and protect the tantric practices from disruption. Finally, we trace the timeline back to the ancient Near East, stretching roughly from the 3000s BCE to the 600s CE. This region saw the advent of intensive year-round agriculture, leading directly to dense cities, centralized government, and organized warfare. The earliest major civilization here, the Sumerians, provided the foundational artistic models for the entire region. They built massive, pyramid-like ziggurats to honor their gods and ground their society. They also invented cuneiform, one of the world's first writing systems. They used miniature relief carvings on cylinder seals to press this script into clay to mark administrative documents. Around 2350 BCE, the region experienced an aggressive societal shift with the arrival of the Akkadians. Akkadian rulers pushed art away from a purely religious focus. They needed a distinct medium to consolidate and proclaim their conquering power to the masses. The victory stele of Naram Sin formalizes this political shift, using stone relief to document absolute authority. The physical composition enforces a strict hierarchy. Naram Sin is literally elevated above his subjects and defeated enemies, raising him to the visual level of a god. In the ancient Near East, individual imagination was secondary. Art was an exercise in technical skill, used to forge idealistic political symbolism that projected a ruler's wisdom, strength, and authority. From Japanese ink washes and Khmer stone carvings to Tibetan santon and Akkadian bronze, these distinct media were born from specific geographic pressures and local lifestyles. These works functioned as highly engineered mechanisms with specific jobs, whether that was aiding meditation, displaying royal power, or consolidating an empire. Categorizing and analyzing these distinct histories requires serious academic rigor. The sheer density of accurate information spanning these periods of vitality is formidable. Studying the visual arts of the East and Near East allows us to reverse engineer the political, spiritual, and philosophical operating systems of ancient